Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast, the podcast that is passing wisdom to the next generation of athletes, parents, and coaches to talk about the impact that sports has on our lives and how we're giving that back. So on Fridays, I drop Coach's Corner. If you're new here, welcome. Coach's Corner is really where I explain a lot of what I am learning in my life and I'm trying to apply in my life. It's where I kind of putting into the test of how good of a coach and a teacher can I be. I want to teach life lessons, and I want to teach life lessons through sports, and I want to teach life lessons through sports through the podcast of Bridging Impact. And I have this big vision of, what Bridging Impact can be. And I'm a big picture person, very big visionary, right? Like, Bridging Impact is going to be in, the after schools. I'm going to be serving, so many athletes and students and really helping them not only become better athletes, but help them become better leaders, on the court, on the field, but also in the classroom and at home. Like that is my lifelong dream. And I always want to think big picture, when think about the podcast on Wednesdays, maybe you found me through guests. I have, great guests on, but I still have aspirations of getting guests on like Sean McVay and John Gordon, Ryan Holiday, a lot of, big names, leaders, and boom, like this visionary, it's always going, right? But sometimes as a visionary, we can get caught up in just the minute day-to-day, process of things. And it's not always, I was thinking the other day, right? It's easy to dream. It's hard to execute. There's a reason that there's only a few like really big brands, big companies right now. I'm reading Shoe Dog and Nike, the amount of hours and energy and almost failure that they had is unbelievable. And there's a reason there's only one Nike because of that experience that Phil Knight and the team went through was just something that most people don't have the courage, the patience, and honestly, the luck to endure, through those 10, 15 years of getting Nike off the ground. That's a wonderful read for anyone that's like interested in like entrepreneurship and sports and Nike in general. So getting to my point is, what do you think the word chop wood, carry water means? So when I first heard that, I was exposed to it when I was reading the book 11 Rings. And I believe I was either reading it at the beginning of 2022 or end of 2021. I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes books kind of blend in, and I was exposed to the term chop wood, carry water. All right. This, it wasn't Phil Jackson's, saying, like he didn't create this. I believe it's a Native American parable, but I could be very, very wrong. So don't quote me on that. You have to Google that to be for sure where it originated from. However, he's used that, phrase a lot, chop wood, carry water with, the Chicago Bulls team that he coached in the 90s and also the Los Angeles Lakers team that he coached. Because when you're a coach, when you're an NBA coach, right, what is your big goal? Your big goal is to win an NBA championship, right? Obviously some seasons, if you have talent, if you have an opportunity for that. All right. Sometimes, maybe that's not the goal this year, but that's the goal in 3 to 5 years. That's always the goal, is an NBA championship, right? If you're an NBA coach. So that's the grand goal, for me, grand goal is to turn Bridging Impact into my full-time work, right? But we have to chop wood and carry water to get there. And that's the little minute details every single day. And that's not always something that I am good at, because I want, I think, part of it is, just being honest. I don't want to say my generation, but, just growing up on social media and wanting to, quote unquote, be successful, right? Be that full-time income entrepreneur, like right away. When in reality, it takes time. Right. It takes quite a bit of time, and it takes quite a bit of chopping wood and carrying water to get to where we want to go. And chop wood, carry water it's a great reminder to just kind of put your head down and put in the work and be consistent, right? Because if I don't chop wood and carry water every single day, then I can't, survive, right? I think the parable is talking about literally just survival, back in the day, right? And for me, obviously when you're building bridging impact, or, whatever you're building or whatever you're striving towards, we're not in an era where things are life and death anymore. Fortunately, like that's a really great thing. However, it is really important for us to recognize that if we want to kind of, work towards the life we aspire to or want to thrive in, right? Because I think we've kind of transitioned, like really luckily, or really fortunately, to go from striving to thriving, and, creating opportunities for ourselves. We have to still kind of put in the same amount of work that was required to survive, but now to thrive, right? We can just survive by, going and getting, some sort of job that, pays the bills and pays the income, but it may not, completely fulfill us. And here's the other thing, right? Like, you may be listening and you may not, have aspirations of becoming an entrepreneur and creating your own income. And that's, to me, that's kind of my path, right? And for your path, right, it may be something else, right? That chop wood, carry water may look like, you just becoming a teacher and wanting to help graduate, 90% of your class, get 90% of your class getting A's, and that chopping wood and carrying water looks different. Like, those daily activities to get your students to be thriving look different, in whatever your job may be. Maybe it's, some other sort of role in social work, or however you see fit in your life. And the importance of that, I think, is just to focus, right? And I know I mentioned this before, but focus on what is in the present moment. I think that is something that I sometimes can be challenged with, right? I want to schedule, certain days, and, chopping wood and carrying water. I think sometimes the ability to kind of like say that phrase is a really cool way of being like, okay, when something goes wrong, right? Let's say, for me, right, if I want to turn this into my full-time income, and, another pandemic happens, right? Like, it's horrible for the world, right? And then it's obviously going to be a road bump, and that's a huge road bump. And I'm sure that was a road bump for many of you that were, are listening to this or watching this on YouTube. But what I say, and so I'll use a different example. I'll use this example today, as I'm recording this, before we play a team. My freshman and sophomore team that I'm coaching at Venice High School is rematching against Palisades, Frost Soft team who kicked our butt about a month ago, right when we came back from break. And, I've pretty much, been thinking about this game, right? The big game, for the past month. And I could really, I had to really focus myself this week specifically, because I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks. Okay, how can we chop wood and carry water each day to prepare us to play Palisades, and then be ready to, get that rematch, get that revenge, and be ready to compete. And so that was really my job, was how can we get chop wood and carry water each day and get us to progress each day instead of focusing on the outcome, right? I think it's just another word of saying, we got to focus on the process. The process will take care of the outcome. The outcome may not be always what we want, right? Maybe bridging impact leads to me being a college coach. Maybe it leads to me, being a full-time teacher, or, administrator or something, I may not know, right? The outcome may not be what I initially intended it to, but it may bring me as much joy and, contentment and fulfillment that I wanted, right? So chopping wood and carrying water. I want you to, spend a little bit of time today to think about what that means for you, and what kind of, how can you focus more on just the daily tasks that want to get you to where you want to go. And I think, before we even think about chopping wood and carrying water, what wood and what, water do you need to carry? Because if you don't have an idea of the direction you want to go, or, the clarity around what is important to you, it's kind of hard to figure out what wood to chop and what water to carry. So those are some of the thoughts I would implore you to think about. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If you got something out of this, if you think this would be a great video for someone, or a great episode for someone to, remind them to be in the present moment, please share it with them. Go leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us, grow. Give us a 5-star on Spotify if that's where you're at, if that's what you believe this podcast is. And I really appreciate you all. You can always reach out to me, whether it's on social media. I normally try and leave my contact information in the description, just reach out to me there. We can jump on a phone call. We can get on an email chain. However I can help in any way. Just hope to continue to teach and inspire and bridge that impact that was brought to me. So have a wonderful weekend. Coach Furtado out.